Hi guys, so today's video is going to be a book review for Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. The setup is that we follow our main character Alex Stern, who now goes to this prestigious university. It takes place in our own world, but there are secret societies and there are different houses on this university's campus that use magic. She ends up becoming a part of the ninth house, Lethe, which is in charge of monitoring the other houses and ensuring that they don't abuse their powers. And Alex, she doesn't really end up at this university because of her amazing academic prowess, if you will. She ends up there because she has a very unique ability to see greys, which are ghosts. She's able to go to the school, but she's kind of a little bit of a disaster, and you find out more about her past and how the fact that she's been able to see ghosts her whole life, but nobody realizes that this is normal because it's our own world and people don't think that's a thing. She's been able to see them since she was a child, and she has gone through some tremendous trauma, and it kind of led her down a self-destructive path. And you don't really know what that path is. You just see Alex as this kind of edgy person who sort of feels like she has imposter syndrome a little bit, but also you get the perspective of somebody that they have nicknamed Darlington, Daniel Arlington, and you get a little bit of his perspective. You see Alex through his eyes, and so you get through him what would be like your first reaction to this character. Oh, this girl, she's kind of a screw up, she's a mess, she's a druggie. And then as he gets to know her, you get to know her as the reader. You have a few different timelines in this book. You have last fall, which is the past, and then you have present day, which would be winter, and then you kind of move along in that part of the timeline. Then you also just get parts of the book that are true flashbacks that go to Alex's past from before last fall. And sometimes when you're in last fall, you sort of get her past. She kind of just thinks about it occasionally, and it sort of flows through the narrative. And then other times it feels like a more formal, okay, now I am telling you about her past. It was interesting to have this split timeline. I was hoping the split timeline would contribute to the murder mystery element of the story, which for a while I didn't realize this was a murder mystery, and also I'd never really heard anybody call it a murder mystery. Doesn't mean nobody ever has, but I just not realized that was kind of the main premise of the actual present day part of the book. And I was thinking that last fall would be a good way for us to kind of get clues into this murder mystery. And it kind of wasn't. I felt a lot of the last fall chapters, those moments were more, it felt like dedicated to setting up the sequel. I felt that you could have kind of smushed the last fall and the winter timelines together. At least that's what my preference would have been. You get the last fall to winter timelines, and last fall she's still kind of that same person who's trying to start this new life and this new opportunity that's been given to her. She's trying to embrace it. But then you go to winter and she's basically a totally different person, or she felt that way to me. I mean, she kind of went from being quiet and a little timid but kind of edgy to like busting down doors, and she's like, I'm here trying to wreck stuff up. The person that she was in the winter present day timeline and then the person that she is in the last fall timeline feel like very different people. A personal thing for myself, I kind of felt like this book was a little bit extra detail oriented, which I think is going to very much appeal to a lot of people, especially if you're in this book for the dark academia setting and you want to be grounded in this setting. You will be. She gives you a lot of descriptions about a lot of things, and I didn't care about most of those descriptions. That said, though, I do like Leigh Bardugo's writing style. It's not dense, and I definitely feel like it's vivid, and in this instance it was definitely dark vivid, but I just am not that particularly detail oriented. A couple of specific things though that I wanted to mention. One being the dialogue and the way that some things in the story felt a bit convenient. I think the dialogue has to do a lot with the, I'm so edgy, aren't I so edgy? My name's Alex. My real name's actually Galaxy, but I go by Alex because it's way edgier. If Alex had a personality, her personality would be that she wears black. So I'm going to get to a scene of dialogue that I feel like illustrates that pretty well, but on the topic of things not always feeling particularly organic and just kind of feeling like information was given way too freely, there's a part where they're trying to figure out where a person lived, and they're talking to a detective, and they're like, well, I mean, when I was in their house, and then the detective is like, you went to their house, and they're all mad about it. And it's like, you're not gonna mess with my case. If I see you anywhere near Woodland, I will F your life so hard you'll never walk straight again. And first off, it's like, wait, effing someone's life up. Do you mean like literally you're gonna... But anyway, the implications of that sentence are interesting. But either way, I'm like, how easy was... That was way too easy to be like, well, when I was in their house, and then the detective's like, don't ever go near this exact neighborhood ever. And then at the end of that scene, it's kind of like, now I know where she lived. And you're like, I didn't feel like that was the best plan. Like, she's kind of screwing herself over here because she's making this detective think that she's interfering with evidence because she's trying to get him riled up enough that if she kind of like acts like she went to the person's house, then the detective will basically tell her where the house was. I'm just like, you know that little clip that they always show of Iron Man being like, yeah, not a good plan. I kind of feel like that should be inserted in parentheses, like right around this scene. But going back to the point that I felt like some of the dialogue sometimes was a little not my favorite. The dialogue, again, it just feels like it's reaffirming, like, did you know if Alex had a personality described very briefly, it would be that she wears black. I feel like this chunk of dialogue illustrates that perfectly. I'm going to change the colors for who's talking, so that way you can keep it straight, because I want to read through this without any dialogue tags, so that you can actually, because I think dialogue tags and narrative throughout dialogue, sometimes it actually keeps you from realizing how clunky the dialogue is. So I'm just going to read this chunk. It does have some character names, so I'm going to replace those. So I'm going to say Bob for when they're talking about a man, but I'm going to read this chunk to you. Here we go. I saw you in that apartment. You almost wet yourself when Bob disappeared through that wall. You have a real way about you. You know that, Stern? Is it my charm or my looks that you can't get enough of? You don't always have to come out swinging. What are you so angry at? Everything. Anyway, you know I'm right. Maybe so. But Bob is represented by counsel. Neither of us can talk to him without his lawyer. Would you like to? Of course I'd like to. I'd also like a rare steak and a moment of peace without you yapping in my ear. Can't oblige, but I think I can get you an interview with Bob. Let's say that's true. Nothing we learn will be admissible in a court of law, Stern. Bob could tell us he killed her 12 times over, and we wouldn't be able to pin it on him. But we'll still get answers. I'm pretty sure when my mother was talking about the devil, she had you in mind. I'm a delight. Anytime I'm ever upset ever again in my life and somebody asks me what I'm angry about, I'm just gonna say everything. Also, I don't understand when they said, but we'll still get answers, and the reply to that was, I'm pretty sure when my mother was talking about the devil, she had you in mind. I don't know how that is a normal reply to what the other... Like, they didn't say anything that evil sounding. Now getting to the thing, though, that if you've heard about this book, you have probably heard some people talk about the fact that there are some things that might warrant trigger warnings. So, there is some sexual violence in this book. There are multiple instances of this in this book, and there's one in particular that I felt was... It kind of has to do with magic, and that one I definitely feel like the effects that has, that horrific thing on someone, I feel like clearly it wasn't just like, oh darn, too bad that happened, and then we move on, right? So I am one of those individuals that I am not at all opposed to us having that kind of content in books. But usually when it's in books, I really want the author to handle it with care. I know not everybody feels the same. That's just kind of my own personal take on it. And I felt like the author really was trying to show us with one particular thing how that has affected a character. Now, I can't speak for how realistic that is, but I at least appreciate that we are examining the effects of it. And then there's another instance. So it's a university setting. And it does show at one point somebody basically being drugged, and then somebody taking advantage of this person who is drugged, that they basically drugged. And it's like a magical drug. So you basically can compel people to do whatever you want them to do. And the person wants this very specific thing. And then they record it. They send this to the girl. And they're like, you were super hot last night. And then they send her this terrible video. And she's, of course, horrified that this happened. Our main character can tell by looking at this video because it's somebody she knows. And she sees, okay, something's going on. There was some kind of magical thing happening because this girl, she was like, obviously she was not up for what happened. First off, the girl is weeping, and there's another girl with her, and then our main character, Alex, she comes in, she sees this person crying, and she's like, what happened? And then the other girl that's with her was like, can I show her? And I'm like, first off, I don't think you should ask this victim, hey, can I show this person this video of you? So that already felt like a little weird. And our character Alex doesn't quite know what's going on. So she starts watching the video. Then she goes to the other room. Part of me's like, do you really need to go to the other room to keep watching this video? But either way, it's established what happened. And not too long after the character, I tabbed it because I'm like, what? Wasn't that the girl that this just happened to? So that part happens, and then it's basically like dealt with. And then later she's talking to this girl, and the girl's like, maybe we can go to that party on Friday. And then our main character's like, oh, yeah? And then the girl's like, yeah, I mean, we don't have to go for like a super long time, but like I might want to go. Maybe I'll borrow your lipstick. And I'm just kind of like, yeah, I don't know that they would be. Maybe they would, I don't know. But it just felt like there was one part of this that we really wanted to take time to show the effects of, and then in this other one, it's just kind of like, I mean, it was like dealt with, so I guess I'll just like go to another party, and I don't know, I mean, I've never been magically drugged and then had that happen to me, so I don't know how I'd react to it. I just don't think I would react like that. The magic in this book, while I think there's a lot of potential for some really interesting exploration of things that we're aware of being like paranormal type stuff like ghosts, we have seen those in books a lot, and I think this book definitely has a very unique take on a lot of those sorts of things. It has a unique take on secret societies and how that would actually work if magic was real. What would it actually look like? And I think there's supposed to be an air of mystery about the magic. I don't think it's supposed to be set rules and limitations the way you'll get in something like Sanderson's books. However, I would have liked a little bit more of, okay, here's what you can't do and here's what you can do. Just a little bit. I'm not saying that all the realms of possibilities with magic need to be explained to me, but I just felt like there were times, once again, talking about the convenience of things, there were times where it just felt very convenient. Like the character needs to do something. There's a part where the video, for example, they really want to make sure that the video of this person that was taken is not spread all over. So they're like, maybe I can use magic through these people I know, and maybe they can like make sure that video doesn't get sent anywhere else, and that it also like they take what has already been sent and it basically like unsends sort of kind of, so then it's gone. And then they're explaining like, well, just make sure you take care of it now, because if it gets sent to a bunch of more people, I might not be able to do the spell. And you're just like, the spell feels really specific and convenient. So stuff like that it just felt like, and there are so many ways they could compel people to do stuff. And there would be instances where it's like, this is a coin that can compel people to do what I want. Super rare. But then it's like, also there's a drug that can compel people to do what I want. And then also there's this thing that will give me a headache after, but it can also compel people to do what I want them to do. It's just like, everybody can be compelled to do whatever you want. I don't know. I just felt like sometimes the magic, it loses its mystery a little bit when the mystery is basically like, what will the character need to do next? This. So I, in case you couldn't tell, wasn't the biggest fan of the book. Regardless, I see a lot of division when it comes to people's feelings on this, so I would love to see all of your thoughts. If you loved it, of course, sing its praises, since I was a little more negative, and I want people to get the other end of feelings on this. And then if you didn't enjoy it, I'd be interested to see if it was similar for you as to what I pointed out, or if there were other things that weren't really your cup of tea. But either way, I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Bye.